no time to talk. Music loud and women warm. I've been kicked around since I was born. You know it's alright.
Hello and welcome back to another Staying Alive podcast, brought to you by the one and only Alive Advocacy Movement.com. Yeah, we're pumping out these podcasts, listening to real people, real vapors from right around this broad, wide, beautiful land of down under here in Australia. If you're listening to this or you're watching this, subscribe. Whatever you got to do, hit a bell, give us a like, give us a comment, all that sort of thing. We welcome your points of view. And if you want to come on and talk with me on another future podcast, get in touch via our website at aliveadvocacymovement.com. But without any further ado, let's get into it. I'm your host, Pippa Star, and I'm joined today the one and only lovely Di from Perth.
Hi, how you going?
Cool. Welcome to the Staying Alive podcast. Glad you could make it to join us. So as you heard, we talked to vapors from right around Australia. We like to hear their experiences and their journey, and for not just for vapors to learn, more importantly for people to understand what it is really like to live a life in the beautiful hills of Di. So tell me, inside the lovely hills of Di, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with becoming a vapor.
Well, becoming a vapor started when I became a smoker, really, which was when I was 14. I had my first cigarette, and then as time went on, I didn't smoke all the time when I was 14, but as I got older, I started smoking more and more, and I had a bit of a stressful late teens and early 20s. So by that time, I'd become a full-fledged smoker. But I enjoyed smoking. I love smoking. It got me through a lot of stress and a lot of hard times. And then when I got to my 30s, my personal life was much happier, and I was going on swimmingly, and I was still smoking, and I didn't plan to give up. And that was all good until I turned, just after my 44th birthday, I got diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh, wow.
So that changed my life, basically. I found a lump. I went to the doctor and said, look, I found a lump. And he goes, oh, look, I don't think it's anything, but I'll send you down to the emergency. I thought, well, if you don't think it's anything, why am I going to emergency? And I spent the whole day there, as you do. And then they finally said, oh, we think it's an abscess. So we can have it removed, but you've got private health. We're going to send you to a private hospital and you can get it done tonight. I said, good, let's just get this over and done with. Yeah. So I went to the hospital, and just on the way down the surgery, he goes, are you breastfeeding? I said, no, my daughter's 20. And he said, well, it's likely not an abscess, it's probably more a cyst. So he said, are you happy to me to remove it if that's what it is? I said, yeah, fine. So I went into surgery, woke up the next morning, doctor came down and said, oh, all good. He said, you can go home, it was a cyst. Okay. And the next morning I actually did have a hairdressing appointment, and I just sat down and I got a phone call from the doctor's surgery telling me that I needed to drop everything and come back.
Oh, no.
So I rang my husband and I said, well, they've either left something in there or I'm in trouble.
Oh, okay.
So when he picked me up, we went back to the surgery and they sat me down and said, you've got grade 3 cancer, which is very aggressive. One step away from grade 4, which is terminal. So
that's right.
That scared the shit out of me.
I bet it did.
Yeah, so smoking wasn't the cause, they say, but what it did do was limit my treatments. Like I couldn't have certain treatments because of it. So I went to the doctor.
Was that because you're a smoker? Was that because you're a
Yeah,
smoker? They
because
said,
I
look,
was a smoker.
we
Because
can't
they,
treat you if you're going to keep smoking, die. Is that what they sort of put on you?
well, I was limited to like because I was wanting a reconstruction because I had to have a full mastectomy. So I
Right.
was limited to a certain type of reconstruction because I smoked. So it was limited. Yeah, it made it harder. So I went to my doctor, my GP, and I said, I've got to give up smoking. I can't do this anymore. And he said,
Yeah.
well, he try the patches. So he gave me the patches, the overnight ones, which, oh God, the nightmares and the stress of finding out you've got cancer and then the stress of trying to give up smoking and everything. And in the end, I tried the patches, I tried the gums, I tried everything and nothing was working. So in the end, the doctor just said to me, look, you're stressing out too much. So it's not good at the moment with your health problems. So he said, just cut it down and we'll worry about it
Wow.
later.
Wow.
I
That
said,
was his
okay.
best advice.
Yeah, in
Well,
the end,
did you ever try the quit line? Because they suggest quite often things like just slow down, just slow down your life and walk the dog, drink a glass of water. But at least your doctor said, hey, just cut down.
yeah. Well, he
Look,
said the stress because you could see, like the stress of finding out you had cancer and then the stress of not being able to smoke. He said, to be honest with you, you're better off having a few cigarettes a day than trying to quit because you're just not able to. So that's what I did.
wow.
And then after about 10 months, I'd gone through all my treatments, several surgeries, chemo, lost all my hair. So you can imagine that's even more stress.
Yeah.
But I came out the other side. So that was great.
Round of applause. Round of applause. Insert round of applause here.
Yeah.
We're
So by
glad
this
you made it.
stage, I
We're
was
glad
in
you
my
made it.
45th year, and I just thought, well, I couldn't give up smoking when I had cancer, so what chance have I got? So I just
Yeah.
carried on, and then I was approaching my 50th birthday, so about 5 years later, and my husband, he could see it was starting to really take its toll on my health, and the coughs and the constant
Yeah.
infections. I get bronchitis, all sorts. And at the same time, my mum, who'd been a smoker all her life, was diagnosed with COPD. And
Oh, wow.
they've been doing like a lot of overseas travel when they retired. And in the end, she was just doing basically a world tour of hospitals. Every time they went away, she'd end up in
Right.
hospital.
Was Mum a smoker?
Yeah, she smoked all her life. Her whole
Right.
family used to smoke, like my opa, oma, and all her brothers and sisters.
Right.
So I thought to myself, I don't want to go down that path because I could see her quality of life really changing, and I could feel myself that I could probably end up the same way. So I thought, that's it, I'm going to try again. So again, tried the patches, tried the gums. Nothing was working, and I was just sort of didn't know what to do. And then I even ordered herbal cigarettes. They're disgusting.
The herbal cigarette. The 5-day plan on the herbal cigarettes. I remember those days.
That's awful.
Hopeless.
And then I tried the Alan Carr book 4 times.
Oh, the good old Alan Carr book. Like, honestly, is that book like just like your worst auntie who's got hardly anything to do with you in your life, telling you what to do with your life
It is.
over
Just,
and over and
Yeah.
over again, and it's like, really?
no.
Anyway,
So that was
yeah.
the
So
fail.
you tried all that.
Because I didn't know anybody that vaped at the time. Because we're talking 10 years ago. And there was only one vape shop in Perth, which was in the process of being prosecuted for selling something under a lolly law that looks like a cigarette.
Yes,
And
I
he
remember
ended
the
up,
case.
yeah, it was
Yes.
in Midland, yeah. So that was the only store in Perth at the time. And of course, he wasn't selling nicotine.
Oh, wow.
So I was researching e-cigarettes online, and I thought, well, maybe I should give this a go. And obviously I can't get them here. So I did a bit more research, and it said that basically you can order enough as long as it's only a 3 months or less supply. And I looked at America when I was looking for them, and I come across this company. I think they're gone now, but they were selling the Easy lookalikes with a little
Yeah.
yeah. So I thought, oh, I'm going to give it a go. So I told my husband, and I ordered them, and just before my 50th birthday they arrived. And I tried it and I thought, wow, this is amazing. Like, it's just like
Oh,
smoking. It even looked like a cigarette. It was just, yeah. I think I started on the 18 milligrams because I was a heavy smoker. And that's what they recommended on their website. And they were tobacco flavoured because I thought, well, I wanted to be like a cigarette.
yeah, yeah.
And and then by the end of that day, I had never had a cigarette again.
Really?
Felt the
So
same way.
it was virtually instant for you.
Instant. After trying everything else over years,
Wow.
it worked. And so, yeah, I became an ex-smoker in one day.
Bloody hell, I reckon you would have celebrated pretty hard for that 50th.
I did, and it was amazing because I didn't have great expectations because I didn't know anybody else that vaped. And as I said,
Wow.
like at the time, there was just nothing in Perth. And, you know, it was just from me Googling alternative ways to give up smoking, this came up. And so I did it all on my own. Um,
Yeah, but you look at the vehicle that was driving your motivation,
well, that's it,
from the
like it,
experience that you've gone through, not
yeah,
only
yeah,
personally, but seeing your mother go through what you did.
yeah,
Oh, wow. All power to you, Di. That's
yeah.
awesome.
So yeah, I was on those for a couple of years actually, and the added benefit was all of a sudden I felt a lot better. I wasn't getting sick so often. The cough had gone.
Oh, wow.
But the best thing was I had more money because the
Yeah.
cigarettes, the cigarettes
Woohoo.
were, close on $40 for a pack of 40s when I stopped. But I
Yeah.
think they're $80 now for a pack of
Oh,
40s.
out of this world.
Yeah, so it gave me, because when I had breast cancer, when I got through it, my husband said, like, that's it, we've got to live for today because you just don't know what's
Yeah.
around the corner. So he said to me, we're going to go on a holiday every year, once a year at least. And so that's what we started doing. But until I gave up smoking, we struggled to do that. But since I gave up smoking, we had money galore. Like, so we even ended
Oh,
up going to America
oh,
for
wow.
5 weeks. Yeah. So it helped in not just my health, but also financially. And we've been doing that ever since. We still have one holiday a year. And
Yeah.
sometimes two, we go to Bali for a couple of days or a week. Um,
Why
and
not?
then,
You
yeah, so,
deserve it.
yeah,
You
and
deserve
then,
it, right? You've done the hard work.
yeah, that's
You
it.
did the research. Okay, you may have had some motivation driving you,
Yeah,
but you did the hard work to get there. That's your
yeah,
reward for yourself to say, hey, well done, me. Enjoy
yeah.
life, right?
And the thing is, back then, like 10 years ago, people were really proud of what I'd done. And like even, friends, relatives, oh, you've given up smoking. But it's a different story now. Like people tend to think I'm doing something worse. Like it's all
Mm,
the bad
wow.
publicity. It doesn't make sense to me because,
So let me get this
I
in perspective for the listeners, Di. Let me put this in perspective. So you've been vaping for what, 10 years, something like that?
yeah, just it was 10 years in March. So yeah,
Okay, so 10 years. Um, did the maths. I could work it all out from when the ego pens came in and the incident in Perth and all that. So yeah. So to go from there to where you are now, and to have heard the difference in the social setting of attitudes towards you
definitely.
vaping, and
Mm,
you've
mm.
seen that morph from well done, great to see you quit, you're an inspiration, boom, boom, bam, to to what are you getting these days? What do they say to you now, Di?
I went to funny enough, a funeral the other day, and someone yelled out at me, "Stop sucking that bloody thing! It's disgusting!" And I just looked at him. I just looked at him and I said, "Well, would you rather me smoke?" I mean, like, and oh, it stinks. And I thought, well, no, it doesn't. it doesn't smell at all like a cigarette.
Wow. This is
So
cigarette stigmatization in a
yeah,
whole
yeah,
new generation
yeah. And
of.
I've had enough of that from smoking years ago, and now I seem to be. I mean, some people understand, and some people are great, but people, especially people I don't know, I get looks. I guess because I'm older, that they don't expect someone my age to be vaping. I don't know, because
Oh,
apparently we don't exist. So
well, well, exactly. See, on the news, if you listen to the news, because the news always knows, you don't get fake news, do you? You only get genuine news. But if you listen to all the media and all the bravado, and dare I say it, even the government messaging, that make you think that the vapes are all about the teens. They're in the toilets at school, all the rest of it. It's all about the teens vaping, but you never hear about the adults. You're quite right there, Di. So
yeah,
the reality is, of daily teen vapors in Australia, they're only about 4%. That's the reality. So that leaves us adults, Di, 96% of us, well, dare I say it, treated like kids.
yeah, and I'd say out of that 96%, 99% of us would be ex-smokers. Like
Absolutely.
there'd be very few people that would take up vaping, in my opinion, as an adult because there's no need. I mean, like I do it because I love smoking and now I love vaping. I don't have any plans to give it up, but I might do one day, but I shouldn't be told I can't vape. I mean, it's like I can
Yeah.
smoke, but I can't vape. It doesn't make sense.
Or stigmatized because, maybe people just hear stuff secondhand or a news
Yeah,
headline that's, sensationally wrong and got you in the wrong perspective by the sounds of it. And look,
yeah.
how do you find getting supplies at the moment, Di? Because, of course, there's
Um,
been a lot of law changes this year.
well, after a couple of years, I got off the e-cig lookalikes. Mainly,
Right.
what started was like in America, they weren't shipping anymore. Like they had some law over there, so they couldn't ship. So
Oh,
I had
okay.
to sort of turn around and I looked at New Zealand instead because I thought, well, that
Right.
makes sense
Mm-hmm.
closer
Yep.
anyway. So I still was using the tobacco flavour at that time, and I ordered an e-cigarette, like a pen type style,
Right.
um, and a refillable one, because the e-cig lookalikes used to have like cartridges, but they were
That's
bloody
right.
useless. That the batteries would last about 5 minutes. I had to have about 10 of them, and I had a little box like charging them on the run, and half the time they'd run out. And when I was in America, actually, one of them. I went out and instead of going back to the hotel, I went and bought a disposable. That's the first disposable I ever bought.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and then so I got this pen, and I got a couple of batteries with it. And I didn't like the taste of their tobacco. It was different to the tobacco. So I ended up trying flavours. And I'm not really a sweet tooth, but I decided I like strawberries. So I ordered strawberry and I ordered vanilla, and I like both of them. So
Can't go
that got me off
wrong.
the tobacco. And I thought, why was I smoking tobacco flavour? This is so much better.
It's crazy, right? Like, don't get me wrong, and I think congratulations to anyone who can find a way to quit smoking, and if they manage to quit smoking with vaping, then if
Yeah,
you're in one of the 16%, one of the 16%, according to studies, they can manage to stay quit smoking only with the use of tobacco, mint, or menthol flavors. Congratulations. But long term, surely there's got to be that association. Surely, if you're an alcoholic and you're a beer drinker, well, surely even drinking zero alcohol beer would be sort of crazy, right? Like after a certain amount of
absolutely.
time.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I thought. And that was another step to getting far away from being a smoker. I don't know why I went with tobacco. I think because I didn't like sweet flavours, that I thought that might be the best choice for me. But now I've switched. I couldn't go back to tobacco. I mean, and there's tobacco too. They're not all the same. Some of them are terrible. Some of them might have a bit of a sweet note to them and a bit more palatable, but yeah, I couldn't go back. So yeah, I stick to my strawberry and my vanilla. So I was ordering from them up until that new law came out with a prescription to import, which is what, 2021?
Yep. Oh, okay. Yep, I'm with you. Yeah. So there's the first run of laws in with Greg Hunt in 2021 October.
So then I found an online doctor where I could get a prescription. I didn't go to my doctor because I don't think he would have approved, so I didn't even bother going down that path. So I got a prescription online and I continued to order them from New Zealand. And that was all going fine. But because that prescription model came out, the black market started to, I had nephews and that started vaping because they could get them off the black market. They didn't have to get a prescription. They could just go to the local shop and buy them.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
I'm not talking teenagers. I'm talking kids in their 20s, but they were ex-smokers as well, so that's fine. So they were buying their little disposables, but so many vapers just didn't want to go down the path of getting a prescription, thought that was ridiculous, and I agree it is, but I went down the legal path. So that was all going fine until this new health minister came in.
Right, we've got a shiny, brand new health minister. We're all full of hope and just hoping that we've got a new health minister with a shiny new elbow government that we thought would do right because he promised. He said all the right words, said all the right things. He's going to look after us all here in Australia. We're all fed up with ScoMo, the person who couldn't hold a fire hose in the worst bushfire catastrophe in Australian history. So we're all motivated to give Elbow a go. And his good mate Mark Butler, the health minister. So
what do I do now? I thought, well, we knew it was coming for a while. So I said to my husband, what am I going to do? And he says, instead of ordering once every few months, how about you order the same every month and get a bit of a stash going? And I said, yeah, I'm going to have to. He was petrified that I'd go back to smoking. I said, I don't think I'll do that. There'll be a way. I'll just go to the black market if I can't. But yeah, I got myself quite a big stash. So I'm safe for a while. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I'd go to a pharmacy because what am I going to do? I'm going to walk in there and say, I want to purchase a vape. And they'll say to me, well, when did you, how long have you smoked for? And I'll say, well, I haven't smoked for 10 years. And they'll just, what are they going to say? I mean,
well, before we even get to that point of going to a pharmacy, Di, I'm not sure if you're familiar with a recent survey, the wonderful Dr. Colin Mendelsohn, and a little bit of yours truly behind the scenes helping him out with that survey that was released only a few days ago about the availability or the lack thereof of vapes through pharmacies. You remember what the figure was of what your likelihood of walking into a vape shop, them having a vape in stock ready to sell you without a prescription, as it should be easy. It should be easy, says Simon Chapman and Mark Butler. From October the 1st, what percentage chance do you think you've got out of 100?
Oh, in WA it's 0.
Well, 0. That's right. Because that's another whole can of bloody worms, isn't it? And rotten worms at that. But normally it's 1%, right? So spoiler alert, for the rest of us across Australia, we've got a 1% chance of walking into a chemist saying, please, can I have a vape? Oh, can I go through an interrogation session? Can I please be treated like a child? And can I pay for an overpriced, useless thing that I don't really want to use because I'm not familiar with it? Well, that's a 1% chance. But lucky you, Di, Jeez, you won the lotto, didn't you? Living
Yeah.
in WA. So WA have decided in their wisdom that the federal laws, they don't. WA, we're a different country over here. We've been wanting to be a different country for years. You guys and the rest of Australia take all our glory, take all our gold, and spend it around the rest of Australia while Western Australia's poor. Stuff here, we're not going along with the federal laws or the constitution. Here we're gonna say no. You still need a prescription, no matter what. No matter what. Even if only 1% of chemists are willing to sell a product to you.
That's
Oh
it.
my God. How does that
even if
make you
you've got
feel?
a prescription, not many chemists are going to fill it. You're going to have to find a chemist that's going to fill it, and a lot of them won't, because they're not stocking them. So, yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. The only ones I could find at chemists were very high in nicotine, closed systems that, you know, probably made by big tobacco companies. I don't want anything made by big tobacco. I mean, no.
Here's the trick, Di, and the listeners and the viewers, is you don't need a prescription in Australia if it's under 20 milligrams, except Western Australia, who want to go it alone because they hate the rest of Australia, whatever.
Yeah.
Except for you, Di, and Pam, who was our very, very first podcast guest, who's fantastic from WA. I do say that tongue in cheek. You're all beautiful people wherever you live here across Australia. Anyway, it's it's a crazy situation, right? That we find ourselves in.
And you can see that it's not going to work. We all know that. It wasn't going to work when they brought the prescription model out in the first place, and now it's just made it 10 times harder for people. And I feel sorry for anyone. Like before, if I come across a smoker, they be curious about my vape, and I'd tell them what to do and how to go about getting it. I can't do that now because there is no option for me to give them that advice.
Yeah, well,
so I feel sorry for anyone that doesn't have the opportunity I had 10 years ago.
So tell me, how far away would you have to travel from where you are right now? How long would it take you to get your hands on a packet of cigarettes?
Oh, probably about 2 minutes.
2 minutes. So if you wanted to jump through the hoops and try and find a chemist, do you even know of a chemist that sells vapes?
Not in my area. There's none that stock them. Plus, I'd have to have a prescription, and I don't know where I'd go. I don't know how I'd go to a physical chemist. The only way I could probably get them is online chemists from over east, and even then, I'd still need a prescription anyway. So yeah, it's pretty limiting. And then, as you say, then trying to get something that I'm still happy with my pen vape. I don't need a big model, whatever. It works for me. So trying to find what I like is going to be near impossible. And then to boot, I've got to go back to tobacco or mint, which I don't want to do.
Oh, right.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you do.
Yeah, it's a bit of a hopeless situation. And, look, I don't think we've seen a huge amount of fire bombings happening over in Western Australia yet, or the black market. But, yeah, I would not be surprised if it started there soon.
I'm sure it will. And I mean, if I ran out of supplies, I'd just ring my nephew and ask him where he gets his vapes from, because I have no idea. Like, they all get them on the black market. One of my nephews ended up going back to smoking, which really upset me, but he also gets them on the black market because the smokes are now cheaper than the vapes, which is strange, but anyway.
Right, so let's not let that point go past.
Yeah.
Right, this is where we've come in Australian history. You just said earlier, You were spending $40 and now they're probably $80 for a packet of cigarettes now. You were saving buckets of money, so much so that you'll be able to enjoy a lovely holiday every year. And now, what? You can probably smoke for almost as cheap or cheaper than vaping the way things are set up.
Yeah, and that's what happened to my nephew. He started vaping. He was in his 20s and he was an ex-smoker. He switched to vaping. He was just buying them off the black market. But when these new laws came in, the vapes became not so much harder to get, but more expensive. I think they went, my nephew said they doubled in price. So you went from, say, 30 to 60 or sometimes even more. And black market cigarettes you could pick up for $20 a packet.
So what's going to happen?
Yeah, so that's what he ended up doing. And, you know, even when I went on holidays last year, we did a drive holiday from Darwin to Sydney, quite a long holiday drive.
Nice.
And we went to a lot of country towns, and I was surprised how many smokers there were in country towns still, especially places like Coober Pedy, which is a pretty rough and ready town. We went to a dinner. It was for the Opal Festival and had everyone there from politicians to business owners and what have you. I just invited myself. And after dinner, the smokers sort of thought, well, it's outside and there was a fire pit. So they were all down there smoking. So I thought, well, if they're smoking, I'll go down there and buy vape. And they all just laughed at me and said, what are you doing that for? He said, you know, it's cheaper to go and buy black market cigarettes, and that's worse for you than cigarettes.
Wow. So that says a lot, because I think a lot of people just think the black market cigarettes and the black market vapes.
Yeah.
I've only penetrated our most urban areas. No. Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right, Di. I've even seen in little country towns up here in Queensland that have stocked vapes for a while, and I highly suspect, as you've cited or experienced, that they've lots of black market cigarettes in these isolated country areas. So how the hell are they going to stop this black market?
They're not. That's Coober Pedy, which is pretty much in the middle of nowhere. But every town we went through, I mean, especially Northern Territory, because there's a lot of Indigenous people, they're getting black market cigarettes, you know, bootleg beer. And, you know, it's just, the more you restrict stuff and the more that you put the price up, that's what happens. It's obvious to us, but it doesn't seem obvious to powers that be, what's happening.
Absolutely. So here we have a situation where cigarettes have never been so cheap in over a decade here in Australia, and easier to access by anyone of any age, because, hey, they're black market. If you've got money in your hands, what are they going to do? No, sorry, we won't take it. Even if you're 13, 14, 15, hell, maybe age 10 or 12 in some country isolated areas. Maybe who cares if they say they're buying it for their mum or dad, but they're not. They're really having a smoke around the corner with their friends. Jeez. It's
sad, and like it's gone back to the old days where, like, the shops, when I was a kid, like the shops used to, if you went in and asked for cigarettes, and you couldn't afford to buy a packet, although packets were quite cheap back then, they'd sell you one or two. You know, you just buy 2 sticks. And that's probably happening here as well, and now.
I know for a fact that it is actually happening. Quite prevalently, there are shops selling in ones or twos of cigarettes or that sort of thing, and they're just not asking minors. They just don't care. But look, this is a situation that I think all Australians should care about, no matter who you are, because this is costing us. This is costing us as taxpayers. This is costing us as a health system. This is costing everyone you see with a cigarette in their mouth, and it's just not Australian. It's not in the spirit. It is un-Australian to have forced policy and legislation in this country that have put us in this hole that we're in. In saying all that, Di, I feel like that's a little bit of a pep talk for you to say, what do you think we should do? Or what? Here's your moment in the sun to say, look down the
Well,
barrel of the camera, because this will become Mark Butler's favorite podcast, to tell him, what do you want out of Mark Butler? What should he change? And how can he improve Australians' lives, particularly ones who are smokers and vapors?
I would grab him by the ears, put him on a plane, and take him to New Zealand and show him how it works. Because I've been to New Zealand many times. One of the companies that I work for is based in Christchurch. So I used to travel over there quite a lot, but I've been there for quite a few holidays. And it's just amazing, like, to be able to just walk down a street, walk into a nice, clean looking vape shop and buy whatever you want, no questions asked. It was fantastic, you know, like didn't have to worry about running out of batteries or because, you know, I could buy them anywhere, as I can buy cigarettes anywhere. It works. We didn't see a lot of kids vaping. I mean, kids will still try it. There's no way you're going to stop that. I mean, just like we did when we were kids, we tried drinking and we tried smoking, but usually it's just an experimental thing and it goes away.
Yeah,
You know,
that's what
it
the
didn't
figures
for
have been
me.
saying. Short-term and
Yeah,
experimental use. Yeah.
yeah. And most of the kids that I knew at school, most of them didn't go on to smoke, but some did. Sorry, it's just the garbage truck.
Yeah, all right.
And you know, so I was one of the few that carried on, and I think it's just because of circumstances that happened to me late in my teens, early 20s. I had a bit of a, you know, stressful time, and I think that's what sort of entrenched me in smoking. Whereas other friends, I've got some friends that can still just, you know, smoke one every, you know, 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, there's just social smokers. But yeah, it's just, I just wish that he would go and see how it works over there. And it really works. You don't see hardly any smokers, whether it be in a country town or a city or whatever. Most of them are vaping. And it's just so much better. I mean, like, and even the fact that the secondhand smoke, you haven't got all that, you know, terrible, I can't stand the smell of cigarettes now. Yeah, it irks me. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
think it's fascinating that you do mention New Zealand, and Butler should really watch and listen to New Zealand.
yeah,
Look, we've been trying to tell him to watch New Zealand because all the best things, I hate to say it, legally, most things that happen first in New Zealand, Australia ends up following anyway,
yeah,
and no doubt we will on this policy, but for no better reason then. It was only a few years ago, roughly 3 to 5 years ago, that Australia was leading the race of decreasing smoking rates faster than New Zealand, faster than the UK. But what happened?
well,
We put the brakes on. Why do we put the
yeah,
brakes on? Because what can you find in the UK? What can you find in New Zealand that can help you quit smoking? People like yourself, as you've just described, you know, who have smoked for a long time and nothing else worked. Well, obviously, as you've experienced and just explained, it's vaping. And where is New Zealand now with their smoking rates compared to Australia? Far away and beyond, way faster, way lower than our smoking rate. They took over us, and now they're going to become one of the first countries in the Oceanic Pacific, or the Southern Hemisphere almost, to become smoke free. One of the only countries besides Sweden in the world who will be able to gloat, probably by the end of next year at the latest, where they'll be able to confirm and say, we are smoke free, which is less than 5%. Currently
yeah,
setting their smoking rates at 6% at the moment. But here we are in Australia. I'll just say it. I'm gonna swear. I'm gonna throw a bit of a bomb. This bullshit narrative that we're only about 8.3%, which is, I know it's not an accurate smoking rate
no,
realistically of what's happening in Australia. we've only got to open up our eyes. Chances are we're probably somewhere around about 12-13% smoking rates at the moment. That's in the real world.
Yeah.
And we are trailing well behind New Zealand, so I think it's fine advice, Di.
Yeah, it's definitely, you can just see it by going there. You don't see black market cigarettes because there's no need. Because most of them aren't smoking; they're on vapes. You don't see black market vaping either. So whereas our market is all black market, it's all controlled by the black market. It's just doesn't make sense to me. I really don't understand the logic of it all
Oh,
because
look, it's only costing Australian economy. And the figures were just recent released in a recent study. It's costing Australia a minimum of $25 billion in lost tax excise alone. That's $25 billion going into the worst imaginable organized crime syndicates,
yeah,
not just on buying more vapes, not just on buying more smokes so they can sell them cheap. No. We're talking some really, really ridiculous, the worst crimes imaginable that this
yeah,
funds internationally, all on the
yeah,
back of one poor
exactly.
policy here in Australia.
Exactly. And there's no end to it. Unless they do something about this ridiculous policies, it's not going to get any better. It's just going to get worse. And like if they're not going to lower the price of cigarettes, at least have vapes as an alternative, like in a retail setting like they do in New Zealand. And therefore you're getting a bit of tax off them, not to the point of cigarettes, but you're encouraging people to give up, and then you're going to save money on health costs. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Can I
It just
just
doesn't.
add? Can I just add a little suggestion to your great suggestion?
Yeah.
Can I just suggest we get some super glue to hold Mark Butler's eyes open while he's in New Zealand? Because I'll tell you why, Ryan. I'll tell you why. It's because we've got obviously these fire bombings just going off every day nearly here in Australia. The black market, people killing each other, burning people down, and all the rest of it. Mark Butler, it's like, oh no, nothing to see here. It doesn't matter. We'll come up with some other palaver or a spin, and ignore what the journalist might have actually asked about the topic.
Yeah, well, that's the
So,
idea that
so I
yeah.
think let's glue his eyes open.
Well, actually, I think he would actually get laughed at because if he went to New Zealand, because I remember when we were coming home, I had some e-cigarettes and some vapes, and I put them in a case and I put them in my hand luggage because you're not to put them in the case. So I was carrying them home. She opened my bag up and I said, "Oh, they're vapes." She said, "Oh, that's brilliant. You packed them really well and you've done the right thing." She says, "Because most Aussies, they bloody chuck them in their case." And I said, "Oh, that's because they're not supposed to have them because they haven't got a prescription." And she goes, "What?" She said, "Do they have to have a prescription?" I said, "Yeah." So they're trying to smuggle them in their case because they're frightened they're going to get caught and have them taken off. And she just thought that was hilarious. She said, "You've got to be joking." I said, "No, that's what happens in Australia." And when you speak
We're a
to
laughing
any New
stock.
Zealander, yeah, they can't believe that we have to get a prescription for vapes, and now it's even worse.
It's a
But
ridiculous
yeah,
thing.
it's quite funny
It really
because
is.
like you see a lot of vapers and you go, "Oh, it's so nice just to be sitting here and having a vape without having to worry about it." And they go, "Why?" Everybody does it. So,
It really is a ridiculous thing, Di, and it is laughable and internationally
yeah,
justifiably laughable from all around the world looking at us in this ridiculous situation. And it's
yeah,
kind of really interesting. I was looking at this during the week, Di, that if you notice how they're always saying the word therapeutic. Oh no, that's a therapeutic vapes. It's therapeutic. There's a reason why they use that language. It's because the only way they could get this legislated was to call it therapeutic. Now, therapeutic means that you are treating a disease.
which
Let's
is
get
not.
that clear again. Therapeutic means a product to treat a disease. Now,
which it's not.
so we're not treating a disease, we're just reducing harm to prevent disease.
Yeah,
Not treating
yeah.
a disease, preventing a disease.
So how come you can recreationally smoke, but you can't recreationally vape? I don't get
Well,
that.
but let's face it, Dot. These words weren't within our vernacular or vocabulary up until about the last 2 years, 18 months or so, because they wanted to fool the Australian public that vapes are either therapeutic or recreational. Now,
There's no
the
difference.
fact of the matter is, there is no difference. A vape is a vape. Sure, they might vary in flavour and wattage and slightly different in modifications and all that sort of thing. But a vape's a vape. That is where Australians had been hoodwinked. Absolutely hoodwinked.
And the other one is that it's the tobacco company trying to, get kids addicted and get them back into smoking because they're losing too much money. And the fact is, there's no vapes in Australia that I've ever seen apart from the pharmacies.
That's exactly right.
Big tobacco companies, and even in New Zealand, the biggest store is Vapo, and they're independently owned. They're not owned by big tobacco, and there's not a lot of big tobacco vapes in New Zealand that I could see anyway. Most of them are independently owned, and the shops, the same like ours used to be before they shut them down. They're usually ex-smokers trying to help other people quit. It's not all about the money. I mean, of course, it's got to be a profitable thing, but it's look, you go in there and people are really helpful and really genuinely want you to, experience the benefits because they know how good it is.
And chemists just don't have the knowledge here in Australia. It's all too very new for them. But look, going back to talking about the only vapes in Australia, big tobacco are now found only in chemists. Now, so yeah, a little fun fact for you. When we did this survey over the last few weeks regarding what sort of vapes could also be found in chemists, if you were lucky enough to find them, guess what the most common vape was that was available over the counter?
Let me guess. What's it called? Can't think of the name of it, but it's owned by Big Tobacco.
That's right. That's exactly right. Boom, top of the class, Di. You win Vive by PMI. This is not an advertisement. This is just using it as an example. But that was a Big Tobacco product. Was basically, there was that, and there was Nicobate, which arguably I know some there's a history. Let's just say there's a history on the board of Nicobate that is very, very appears very closely linked with a lot of big tobacco companies, but nowhere else in Australia, up until the legislation, etc., was made this year that put a lot of small businesses out of business. There wasn't in any of those businesses. Or believe it or not, or even the black market. The black market aren't even running errands for.
Well, big tobacco would not want their product on the black market. I mean, because they've got a bad enough reputation as it is, and if their products were found to be on the black market, they'd be, sued to hell. But I don't like
they do ban laws.
I hate big tobacco. I mean, I don't want to ever give Big Tobacco another cent of my money. I mean, they had me for 35 years. They're not having me anymore. I'd rather. I always supported in New Zealand a company that is independent, and I made sure that they weren't made by any big tobacco companies when I purchased it. And that's my phone.
That's awesome. And look, I think just the fact that you've been able to say, "Hey, enough's enough. Money back in my pocket, and I'm going to win. I'm going to win this game." Sure, might have had to get a couple of metaphorical kicks up the bum in life to get there, but you got there, right?
I did.
And
and I'm not going back. There's no way. I mean, I will go to the black market before I ever picked up another cigarette. I think my husband would probably kill me anyway if I did, because he hated it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I just don't, none of this makes sense to me. And it's been so stressful over the last few years that, you know, you just don't know where to turn. And that's why we're lucky to have a group of us that have sort of found each other and are sticking together, because you need that support. Because I've got family members, I don't talk about vaping on my Facebook page, because I have a lot of Facebook friends and a lot of family, and they don't agree that I should be vaping, so I keep that totally separate. And so I found my vaping family in X and other places, and I kept it separate from. And my husband supports me; he's fine with it, but other members of family don't agree with it. So it's
that's important. That's important. The community aspect is important, and that's why it's important to support AliveAdvocacyMovement.com, wherever you are, to join, to become a part of, whether you're a vapor or not. Actually, we're all welcome, as long as you want to see an end to the madness that we're talking about. We want to see, reasonable, sensible legislation so that people can quit smoking, that we can become smoke-free, we can become known as the clever country. God, it's been a long time since Australia's been called the clever country, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, a long time. So we want to be back into that position again. And it's really, really great to be able to hop into the Alive Advocacy group, be able to spend a few minutes a week advocating, helping do your little bit to create change. And that's what we do. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, make sure you hit the barcode on the screen right there. I'm just pointing at it there, believe it or not. So hit the barcode right there and get on board. But look, at this point, I want to thank you, Di, so much for giving some time out of your day to come and share with little old me, but not just little old me, the few thousand of you beautiful people out there who will not forget to like and subscribe, who will be open to leaving a comment, and who knows, maybe come on another podcast one day and share as Di has today. So I hope you all just join in a round of applause with me for the one and only Di.
Thank you.
And absolutely, absolute privilege and an honour to have you on today, Di. And thank you so much for opening up and sharing a lot of your genuine, real experiences that a lot of Australians just need to hear. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Till next time, guys. We're going to boogie on out of here. With a little Staying Alive. Thank you for joining us here on the Staying Alive podcast. Till next time, we'll be on the next one. Thanks for listening. Ciao for now. Don't forget to head over to AliveAdvocacyMovement.com. Follow us on all the social medias. We're on Facebook. We're on X. We're on Instagram. We are even on TikTok now. Go figure. Go and check it out. And we'll see you soon.